You think you know Alfred Hitchcock? Well, here's some things you may not have known about the Master of Suspense. Despite being renowned as England's best director, Alfred Hitchcock never won an Oscar. Though his films garnered over 50 nominations, only 5 were attributed to him, and he didn't win a single one. Similarly, while he was nominated for 4 Emmys, he didn't win any of those either. However, Hitchcock was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award in 1968. His speech was so intensely anticipated, as the public assumed he would have a lot to say after having been nominated for so many awards and finally getting one. When he reached the microphone to make his acceptance speech, Hitchcock merely said,
"Thank you,"
and walked off the stage. Alfred Hitchcock was a very large man. At only 5'8", he was at one point in his life 365 pounds. He was very fond of food and even more fond of ice cream, typically having it every evening. He developed the habit of secretly binge eating as a child during his tumultuous upbringing in a strict Christian household. He cited building, quote, an armor of fat to shield him from the world. Despite his fervent love of food, he loathed and despised, of all things, eggs. Hitchcock appeared in 37 of his 52 films in small cameo roles. These bits were typically very small background actions and can very easily be missed. Despite being featured in his own films, Hitchcock would never bring himself to watch his own work. He was too nervous and frankly terrified of his films, stating, quote, "I'm very frightened of my own movies. I never go see them. I don't know how people can bear to watch my movies." Being an inherently fearful person, Hitchcock also had a lifelong fear of police. When he was 5 years old, his father sent him to the local police station with a note requesting that the officer on duty lock him up in jail for 5 minutes for having behaved badly. This fear manifested itself in several of his films. Despite all of his fears, Hitchcock adored practical jokes. His pranks ranged from innocuous to malign. He would often put whoopee cushions on the seats of his dinner guests and would use food coloring to make their food odd colors. He also once sent Peter Lorre a beautiful suit tailored by London's most coveted and prestigious tailor. However, the suit was sized for a child. But his pranks were not always so lighthearted. Once, he sent Tippi Hedren's daughter an extremely accurate doll of her mother from her role in The Birds, delivered in a tiny doll-sized coffin. A more cruel prank involved one of his crewmen. He promised the man a week's worth of wages if he spent the night in a darkened studio while chained to a camera. Before the test began, Hitchcock gave the man a brandy laced with a laxative. In the morning, the man was discovered crying, having soiled himself. Despite having a prolific career directing, one of his first films has been lost to time. When Hitchcock was merely 21 years old, he left his job in sales and advertising for a job in the film industry. After his debut film, The Pleasure Garden, he made a film called The Mountain Eagle. However, virtually all evidence of the Mountain Eagle has since disappeared. All that remains of the film are a few production photos and a lobby card. Hitchcock was thrilled that the film was lost, as he cited it being, quote, a very bad movie. During World War II, Hitchcock contributed to the Allied efforts by creating short propaganda films. He shot a short film about French resistance fighters and collected concentration camp footage to create a documentary called The Memory of the Camps. Initially, the film was going to be released solely to a German audience, but the film was shelved by the British government as they felt that Germany was already extremely low morale and that the film would only exacerbate it. Memory of the Camps was not released until 1980, where it was featured in film festivals and played on television. And here's a bonus one. Despite carrying with him considerable clout and status, Hitchcock could not change the United Nations policy against filming for a movie inside the UN itself. To get around this for Grant's scene in North by Northwest, Hitchcock had to use hidden cameras to get footage of Grant entering the UN despite their security's strict upholding of the no filming rule. You can actually see a bystander do a double take in the film as Grant strides right past him. That's it for this episode of You Think You Know Movies. Make sure to subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and get the latest movie and TV news on ScreenCrush.com.